Hey everybody, mel0n here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a mouse that is a clone of one of my favorite mouse shapes of all time. We are going to be taking a look at the WAIZOWL OGM Cloud, a essential clone of the original SteelSeries Sensei Ten. Now, the original SteelSeries Sensei Ten is a mouse I actually used a lot during my early days of getting into competitive FPS gaming. That was the mouse I used the most because it was most compatible with my larger hands. However, unfortunately, just over time, since SteelSeries hasn't really updated the Sensei Ten or like any of their other mice as of late, a lot of SteelSeries mice, the Sensei Ten included, have fallen into kind of disuse just because they're so outdated in terms of specs. The shape is great, I love the shape of the Sensei Ten, just the specs are just really old. So WAIZOWL kind of resurrecting the shape of the Sensei Ten and adding in newer top of the line specs is a really interesting proposition, and if executed correctly, the OGM Cloud could be a really solid mouse, but it all depends on how the shape is executed. So we do have a lot to talk about in terms of this mouse and how it feels in the hand compared to the original Sensei Ten and how it feels in terms of specifications and what it's using on the inside. But before we get into all that, I do have a couple housekeeping things we have to go over. Firstly, WAIZOWL was kind enough to send out the OGM Cloud out for me to take a look at, so thank you very much to them. I greatly appreciate that. Second, as always, I will have this video fully subtitled and there will be timestamps down in the video description and in the comments if you're looking for a particular topic. Let's start off with the pricing and shipping experience and then we'll get right into the unboxing. Now, the OGM Cloud retails for $99 USD. It is available on WAIZOWL's website or your preferred third-party retailer like Lethal Gaming Gear, Max Gaming. Now, in terms of shipping packaging, my OGM Cloud was packed in a very thick cardboard box. Now, thankfully, this cardboard box was quite thick because it did protect the box from a few impacts during shipping. So the inside box was completely unscathed, but the outer shipping box did take a couple hits, which is great to see there. So good job from WAIZOWL there. The internal box was also surrounded by a plastic wrapper, which is another nice touch here, so very well protected in terms of shipping damage. It'd be pretty hard for this mouse to get actually damaged during the shipping process due to the thickness of the cardboard. Now, unboxing the OGM Cloud, we do have a pretty thick cardboard box, which is nice to see here. This is also pretty durable as well, so it's going to protect it additionally during shipping. Inside this box, we have the OGM Cloud, which is surrounded by a bunch of fairly thick but still relatively malleable foam. This is going to protect it amply enough during shipping, which is great to see. Also included in the packaging, we have a user manual. We have a USB-A dongle. We have a USB-A to C adapter. Now, there is no rubber on the base of this adapter, so it does slip on the desk fairly easily. It does have kind of like a linear texture on the bottom, so it does stick to mouse pads pretty good, but it has to be soft ones. But a regular desk surface, it will slip around a little bit, which is unfortunate. It would be nice to see a rubber base on this one in the future. There is also a set of pre-cut grip tape inside the box. Now, some of mine were missing, and then there was some of them on like a separate piece of paper that weren't the full size, so I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but the grip tape itself is actually probably the best like stock included grip tape I've seen with a mouse ever. So props to WAIZOWL there. They've done a really good job with these grips. They feel fantastic. We also have a USB-A to C cable. Now, this cable is really rigid and has a very rough outer paracord wrapping. This isn't the cable that I thought was going to be included with this one because it was supposed to be like a soft white fabric wrapped cable, but this is something completely different. So I'm not sure if maybe my cable was defective and they had to swap it out for another one or whatever the reason for that is. I'll try and figure out what the actual cable is going to be because again, I've never seen the black one before. So I'll try and figure that out for the full review. I wouldn't recommend using this cable for wired connectivity. It's pretty rough. There is also no 45-degree bend in the end of the cable on the USB-C side either. So in terms of using this in wired mode, I would probably recommend against it with this cable because it's pretty rough, but for just standard charging use, it should be fine. Now, one interesting thing I haven't seen before on a lot of other mice is that the OGM Cloud comes with two different types of skates in the box. So there is a speed version of the skates, which is installed on my unit out of the box, and then there is also a larger surface area control skate included in the box. Now, both of my skates did have a protective blue film over both of them. I removed them off of the ones pre-installed on the mouse so I could do some performance testing prior to this video. I'll be sure to do some testing on both of these skates for the full review, but it's very unique to see a version of a control skate or a speed skate included in the box. And usually it's either just one set of skate and maybe an extra if you're lucky, but WAIZOWL has gone and made two totally different kinds, which is a really cool thing to see. So props to them there. And lastly, included in my unit, I do have a 4K dongle that WAIZOWL was kind enough to also include. I didn't know they were going to send this over, so thank you very much to them. This is normally a separate purchase. I believe it retails for around $15 USD, but they were kind enough to include it in my review. So I'll do some testing on this for the full review as well, but just keep in mind the 4K dongle is a separate purchase. It does not come with the unit unless otherwise specified. specified. Overall, the unboxing experience is very solid. I'm really impressed with the two different kinds of skates and the grip tape included in the box are both standout features in my opinion. The one downside, of course, I do have is the cable, but I have a feeling this isn't the actual cable that's supposed to be in the box. So I'll do some digging and I'll clarify that for the full review. But overall, the unboxing experience is very good. I really have no complaints aside from the cable. All right, now let's talk about how the Cloud feels in the hand. Now, in terms of build quality, this mouse feels fantastic. There's no creaking, flexing across my entire unit. It feels fantastic. Weight balancing is also nearly perfect, which is great to see. My Cloud is weighing in at 57.5 grams, which is within the 55 plus minus 2 gram specs. Compared to my old SteelSeries Sensei 10, this mouse feels almost identical, which is a great thing. The grip style is pretty much exactly the same for how I used to grip my Sensei 10. It transfers one-to-one to the Cloud, which is great to see. Overall, no problems there at all. It feels really good in the hand. I'll do some more in-depth comparisons for the full review, of course. Now, quick clarification here. The OGM Cloud is still an Ambi mouse. You can use it with both your left and right hand. However, there are only side buttons on the left side of the mouse, so you can only use the side buttons if you're going to be using your right hand to grip this mouse. If you're going to use your left hand, there will be no side buttons for you to use, unlike the original SteelSeries Sensei 10, which is an Ambi mouse that had buttons on both sides. Now, one other highlight I have about the OGM Cloud is the coating. Now, this is their feather-light coating according to their website, but this coating is fantastic. This is probably one of the best coatings I've used as of late. It's up there with the Pulsar black coating and the Death Adder V3 coating easily. It feels really good to the hand. Of course, we'll have to see how it holds up over testing, but the grip is very solid on this mouse. I don't even think you're going to need the included grip tape for most hands. It feels fantastic. So great job again to WAIZOWL there. I was not expecting a coating this good to be on a mouse like this. In terms of main button specs, we have the 1.0 blue shell pink dot switches, which have been a personal favorite of mine ever since I used them on the original Keychron M3 Mini. I love these switches, no problems with them. They feel fantastic on the Cloud here, no problems there. The side buttons feel very solid. The scroll wheel is very nice and smooth, no problems there. I'm assuming this is going to be an F switch encoder because it feels very similar to the ones in the Keychron mice, but I'll find out when I take the unit apart, of course. But overall, no problems with any of these buttons on the mouse. They feel fantastic overall. Alrighty, now in terms of the sensor specs, the OGM Cloud is using the 3395 sensor, which is great to see. It is also using a tri-connectivity Nordic sensor. I will find out which version it is in the full review, but this mouse does support the 5.1 gigahertz Bluetooth, 2.4 gigahertz wireless, and of course the wired connectivity. Now, WAIZOWL hasn't said whether you can do the 2 and 4K polling rate over the wired connection and the wireless, or just the wireless. I'll find out for the full review. Now, one other surprise with the OGM Cloud is that this mouse actually has a performance mode and a standard mode, very similar to what we saw with the Vaxi wireless mice. We have a similar implementation here. Now, I was not able to test these because I haven't been able to get my Cloud to register with the software on my computer yet. I believe there's an issue with the software. So I will talk more about the performance mode and the standard mode in the full review in terms of how that affects the performance, the polling rate synchronization, and the power draw and that kind of stuff. But I know it exists, I just can't use it right now, so we'll talk about that in the full review. Now, the WAIZOWL Cloud does have some onboard controls on the bottom. It's not going to be anything like we've seen on a Vaxi mice or a Keychron mice, but it is nice to see something on the bottom. So there are two buttons. There's a DPI and a power mode, I believe, a button on the bottom, which can also double as the power switch and the mode switch. Now, you can use these to change the polling rate of your mouse, your response rate, what the connectivity type is. You can do a lot of stuff with these buttons. I haven't really figured out how to use these because it's not connected to the software, so I can't actually enable a lot of stuff yet, but I'll talk more about these in the full review. Now, as I mentioned before, I can't get my mouse to connect to the software on my computer, so I can't talk about the software and onboard memory yet. Thankfully, the unit has onboard controls, so I can't set my polling rate and DPI without the software, thank God, so it's actually able to test the mouse, but I will talk about the onboard memory and the software more in the full review once I can actually get it working properly. All right, now my initial thoughts in terms of performance are very positive. The shape is, again, something that's very nostalgic to me, so it just feels like a nostalgia trip using a mouse shape I haven't used in like 5-ish years. It literally just feels like I'm holding my original Sensei 10, but it's using a 3395 sensor and more modern specs, which is a great thing because, again, I love that mouse shape, and having a shape like that with modern day tech is fantastic. The mouse performs very well. I did a couple runs in Kovacs and a couple ranked games in Valorant, and it performed very, very well. The only potential problem I have right now is the stock skates, because again, I am a dot skate user, so I am hypersensitive to differencing in the X and Y performance, and these skates do have some weirdness in terms of how they work in X and Y performance, but I'll talk more about that in the full review. I'll probably end up taking these off, testing out the full control skates for a little while, and then I'll probably end up putting dots on this, but I'll talk more about that in the full review. But overall, so far, no problems. The mouse performs very well on 1K polling. I will of course talk about the performance mode and the 4K polling and 2K polling as I mentioned before in the full review once I can get that working. But just off of base first impressions, the mouse feels really good, shape's great, performs really solid, and overall no complaints. I'm really impressed, honestly. But anyways, that pretty much wraps up my unboxing and first impressions of the WAIZOWL OGM Cloud. Again, this is a very nostalgic mouse for me, so I'm very happy to be able to use a SteelSeries Sensei Ten-esque shape again. Performance is solid overall, really no problems with it. Unboxing experience has been really positive as well. Great included accessories. The coating on the mouse is also fantastic, and the grip tape in the box is also really good. So I'm really excited to put this mouse through testing, see how it performs over long term, and see if there are any flaws with this mouse, because as of right now, this mouse kind of seems a little too good to be true, and it kind of has my warning lights going off a little bit, because there's got to be something with this mouse that isn't right, but so far it seems perfect. So we'll have to see how it holds up during testing, but I will have a much more in-depth dive on this mouse for my full review in a couple weeks, and of course I will have a teardown of this mouse in a couple weeks as well following my full review. So get subscribed so you don't miss that. Also go follow me on TikTok, X, and Instagram if you haven't already. I will be making little update videos during my review process all over there, as well as with everything else I'm reviewing at the same time. So if you want to stay in the loop of my testing processes and what I'm testing and any kind of cool stuff I find during my testing, you can go find it there. But anyways, that is going to be everything for today. Thank you very much again to WAIZOWL for sending the cloud out for me to take a look at. I greatly appreciate it, and I will catch you guys in my full review in a couple weeks. Peace.